This is the Sons of UCF podcast, your place for UCF sports talk year-round. Now, here is Adam and Mike.
Welcome back into the Sons of UCF podcast. We're the 130th edition of said podcast. My name's Adam, and as always, I have my good friend and yours, Mr. UCF Mike, with me for yet another week. Mike, welcome to episode 130, my friend. How are you feeling on this fine evening?
I'm feeling very good. A little later start for us tonight. I had a softball game with the girls, got home a little later than normal. But this is kind of like how we used to do it the first year of the show when you were out on the West Coast. It's after 9 o'clock. That's kind of late for us old guys.
Well, don't bury the lead. How'd the game turn out?
We won again.
Okay.
Of course. We're undefeated.
All right.
The streak continues.
The streak continues. So you can always, what are you, the llamacorns?
That's right. Llamacorns. Half llamas, half unicorns.
The llamacorns win streak continues here, and the Sons of UCF consecutive show streak continues, Mike. We almost took this week off. And then we decided not to, but I was doing the math. I don't think we've had an off week since, I don't even know when, probably back before like August. So, and we've been doing double duty for a while as well. So the we're like the Cal Ripken of your UCF podcast. So you are welcome. And on this particular show, Mike, here's what we got for you. Something a little different. So we'll do some quick news and notes, headline type stuff off the top here. Not a ton going on, a couple of things here and there we'll get you updated on. We'll reintroduce our Big Three. We have a new Big Three category this week. We'll probably save some time for Cow of the Week at the end, Mike. But this week, we're going to do something a little different. You mentioned the old days of the show. For those of you who are new around here, you picked up where we maybe started, I think it was episode 97. But before that, there were 96 other shows that were out and are no longer available, at least on the worldwide internet as it stands now. However, all of the old recordings of those shows, we still have all of those, which includes, Mike, some of the early shows. We had some really, really great interview guests. And we've been trying to figure out ways to bring back some of these guests and some of these interviews because even though they may have taken place a while back, the content is still really good. It's not specific to any really different time right now. It's definitely something you can probably go back and listen to. So we've been trying to find new ways or inventive ways to get that content back. So we figured tonight you're going to get a throwback interview, Mike, and not just any throwback interview. The literal first ever Sons of UCF player interview.
Yeah, it's very exciting. This is the great thing about the show that we do and the interviews is you can listen to them at any time. And yeah, you don't want to hear the rest of the show from that episode, which who knows what else we were talking about, things that are out of date. But the interviews never go out of date. We recap everybody's career and all the great games and plays that they had. And this was the first one. It was a big name out of the gate. When you told me we were going to start doing player interviews, I didn't expect to have this one first shot, but it was a good one, man. You guys are going to like it. If you haven't heard it yet before, it's a good one.
If you want to know what we were talking about in the other parts of the show, I actually listened to some of it today when I was getting that clip. We were all excited and celebrating the arrival of Brandon Wimbush to UCF. We actually had a Notre Dame guy on the show who told us all about how Brandon Wimbush was going to be the perfect fit for UCF's offense. That's how far back this gem goes.
I guess we can say who it is, right? I mean,
it's on the title, yeah. At this point, it's no secret. That's correct.
But he has been hiding from us. We were supposed to have him on the live show or a pregame show a few months ago and never got him. This was the one shot that we did have at him. Mr. Jeff Godfrey joins us tonight.
Jeff Godfrey on the show. So stick around. If you've already heard that, it's been at least 2 years since you heard it, so you forgot it anyway. Don't worry about it. And I suspect many of you are maybe new to the show or discovered us later on in our tenure. Maybe didn't go back to listen to all those shows. So it'll be new to you, so you will enjoy our time with Jeff Godfrey. So that'll be coming up as well, Mike. But let's start off really quick off the top here. Not a ton going on in UCF sports land. We'll start off with your friends on the baseball diamond. If you listen to the UCF Sons of UCF live show on Thursday night, we talked about how the upcoming tilt with ECU, who is really a baseball powerhouse, if you will, in the American Conference, how UCF needed to at least split that series, Mike. And once again, we've commanded UCF baseball do something, and they have followed suit, Mike. A 2 2 split, if you will. So UCF won 2, ECU won 2. So UCF splits their games at ECU. Now 19-21 on the season, Mike. You're the baseball guy around here. How big a deal is the split at ECU?
Oh, it's a very big series, and good to split. I said last week we'd be happy with the split. East Carolina, like you said, is a powerhouse. I've seen them ranked number 9. I've seen them ranked high as number 7 coming into this series. So it was a big test, and it's on the road. And we had a doubleheader on Friday, lost the first one, came back and split the doubleheader Friday, lost Saturday, came back on Sunday with a nice convincing win on Sunday. So I like the way the team's playing, and they're gelling a lot more now towards the end of the year, playing with more confidence. We took 3 out of 4 the weekend before against the Cows, and now splitting against East Carolina on the road. That's huge going forward, and now we can build on this. We've beaten some pretty good teams this year. I know the record doesn't show like we've had a great season, but we went on the road and beat Mississippi, who was ranked number 1 earlier this year. And now this one on the road also against East Carolina, another big couple wins. Hopefully the team now starts to really get that confidence going before we head into the conference tournament at the end of the year.
19-21 on the season, Mike. In the upcoming weekend, we have a 4-game tilt. Memphis is coming to Orlando. Memphis 12-26 on the season, so you'd think those could be 4 winnable games. I think we may have to call for a sweep on that, but check back with us on the Sons of UCF Live. We'll figure that out. And that's followed up by 4 more at home with Wichita State, who's actually pretty good. Then we go on the road to Tulane, and we wrap up the season against Houston. So really, for 12 of the next 16 games, Mike, will be at home at the John. So UCF has an opportunity here. They're currently 3rd in the American Conference. Even though there's a pretty good separation between the top 2 teams. They're currently 3rd in the American Conference, but they have an interesting little stretch in front of them that if they can figure out a way to maybe sweep one of these series and at least win all of these series, they may just be able to string together some W's at the right time.
Well, yeah, sweep would be beautiful. That would get us back over 500 for the first time in a while. I don't even remember the last time we were at 500, if we ever did get over 500. And these games at home, most of them, like you said, we've actually played better on the road. Like I was just talking about, at East Carolina, at Mississippi. We need to get straightened out here at home. And now we got a chance to do it. Memphis is the team you want to get us on the right track. If we can, at least 3 out of 4. If we can win 3 out of 4 for these 4 series, that puts us at what? Let's see, 12-4. 12-4 over the last 6. You take that every time.
Yeah.
And like I said, the confidence growing. We've already beat East Carolina now a couple times. If we face them in the conference champion tournament, we won't be afraid to play these guys. We won't be afraid to play anybody in this conference.
Well, the tilt will be interesting as we've got after we play Memphis and Wichita at home, which Wichita is 20-15 on the year. Then we go to Tulane. Tulane's 21-13 overall, 10-1 in conference. So they are currently at the top spot in the conference. ECU right behind them at 10-2. And then we're 9-7, and then we mop up with Houston, who is 15-20 on the year. So some winnable games down the stretch, Mike. If you want to start playing your best ball, this is the time to do it. They're coming together. Obviously, things that didn't necessarily materialize, I think, as we had thought they were. But you mentioned it, UCF only 6-8 at home, 13-13 on the road. So a losing record at the John. Hopefully that can turn around this weekend. And then even maybe rub a little bit of extra salt on that thing and maybe beat Wichita State and finish off strong in Houston. So definitely, while it hasn't been the season I think we all thought, there's still a lot to play for. Still a lot in front of UCF right now.
And baseball is another one of these sports where you have a chance, just like basketball. If you win the conference tournament, you're automatically in. And I think it was 2010, a team like Fresno State had a losing record in the regular season, got hot at the right time, won the conference tournament, went all the way, and won the College World Series. Now, I'm not saying that this team's going to do that, but you can get hot and you can win a tournament, get into the big dance, and then see what happens. Maybe get past the first round, something that we've never done, is win a regional. So at least get there and make it interesting.
All right, speaking of interesting, this weekend, Mike, both the men's and women's tennis teams went out and just go ahead and captured the American Conference Championship, respectively, and both, I guess, both of their quote-unquote sports there. So that brings the total number of conference championships in the Terry Mohajir era to 4, Mike. I think Timo's made a huge impact. We are currently in a sort of a swoon where Timo has just put his magic all over UCF. 4 conference championships in his tenure so far. What is he not the best UCF athletic director of all time, or what?
He's off to a great start. I mean, how much influence he had on these conference championships, I don't know. But you see him out there. He's supporting all these teams. He's at all the events. So that's good to see. Obviously, he didn't hire any of these coaches. He hasn't been here for very long. But it's good that he's here and experiencing the winning culture and how fans are reacting to it. And he knows that we expect conference championships, and not just football, not just basketball, but all sports. And that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years.
The best part is, I'm wondering if any of you out there listening to this are wondering if you and I are going to try to provide a tennis breakdown. We are not. That's not going to be our lane. That's not our show. But kudos, congrats to both the men's and women's teams for bringing in American Conference championships. The men's team actually beat the Cows to bring home that trophy, so even more sweet on that one. But we're not going to break down tennis, Mike, but we are always going to do one thing. That's probably break down some football. Probably the most exciting part of this week for UCF fans is the upcoming NFL draft. Obviously, UCF has a ton of potential prospects that could get drafted that have some possibilities, some higher than others, some that we're kind of waiting on, Mike. So let's do our official. We do this every year. We predict the draftees, where we think they'll go round wise. If you want to throw a team out there without any information, that's always fun as well. And then we'll pick our annual who's going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars award. So let's start here, Mike. Obviously, probably the 2 names off the top, the 2 biggest that are getting the most buzz are Richie Grant and Aaron Robinson. Jim Nagy of the Senior Bowl was on ESPN, basically said Richie Grant will not have to wait all that long to have his name called. So it looks like him and A-Rob have probably been the most consistent, Mike. So let's start with Richie Grant. Give me the UCF Mike official prediction on the round that Richie Grant will be drafted.
Oh, I think he's going to be the first guy off the board. And a lot of people are saying Aaron Robinson. I like Richie Grant. I wanted to say third, but I think he's going to sneak up to the late second round. So now I got to look to see who's picking around that time. It all depends on which needs these teams
have no clue. Just pick a team. There's no way you're gonna start to analyze somebody's depth chart there, Mike.
We're going to but we're gonna write this down and see if we're correct, right?
I can. I've got a pen handy. Hold on, I got
take a dart and throw it at somewhere here. And I'm gonna say Richie Grant, second round, to the New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans Saints for Mike. There you go.
The number 60 overall pick.
Wow, there you go. So some of these guys have some obviously some mock draft stuff out there. Some of these guys don't. So Richie is one. Sporting News has him going number 87 to the Washington football team. NFL, which is a third round pick. NFL.com has him projected as a second rounder. So I'm going to go with you as well, Mike. I will also go round 2 for Richie. And you can go ahead and pencil him on to my beloved Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. See, that I would hate to see that. Yeah. Him with the Redskins, oh, man.
Yeah.
But I could see it happening. I could see him ending up on the Redskins.
We need safety help
the Cowboys,
badly.
Yeah, I've been hearing the Cowboys interested in him. But
yeah,
who knows? These smoke screens that these teams put out, all kinds of things.
All right, Aaron Robinson next up then. So you've got we both have second round. You have New Orleans. I have Dallas. Aaron Robinson. So I guess the question, maybe you need to answer this one. Is Richie going before Aaron Robinson in your opinion?
Well, that's what I've been saying, so I'm going to keep it that way.
Okay.
I'll stick with that. And I got Aaron Robinson going in the third round.
Wow.
But this time to, let's see, what the magic ball is predicting here. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams.
LAR for Mike. Okay. I'm going to stick with I almost jump Aaron Robinson up to late first round. For some reason I want to put him on the Bills like late first round. I don't know why I want to do that. I'm too scared to make that poll. I did see something interesting. Sporting News has him going number 96 overall, which also third round, to the New England Patriots. I certainly wouldn't want that either because I never want to root for Patriots. So give me round 2 for A-Rob, and let me throw him onto a team that maybe might need some defensive help, but you never know what they're going to need. I don't even know if they have a second round pick. I should probably look that up before I make this declaration. I'm going to go Arizona Cardinals. I have no idea
Arizona
why.
Cardinals. What did you say? Second round?
I did.
They have the 49th overall pick. In the second round.
I like this. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go Aaron Robinson to Arizona in round 2. No idea why. Let's stay on the defensive side while we're there then, Mike. Mr. Tay Gowan. Obviously, Tay has some tape on him. Only won at UCF 2 years prior to that with some JUCO ball. Ran a pretty respectable 40-yard dash time. He's been a guy that's a little bit tough to peg. I think some people are thinking he was going to go higher. Some people thought he might go undrafted. NFL.com, Mike, if you want to get influenced here, NFL.com projects him as a 7th round pick. So Tay Gowan, Mike, what round does Tay Gowan get drafted?
I think he may get hurt a little bit for not playing last year. He does have the talent, and he does have some film that teams are going to take into account. So he may go, I'm not going to say 7th. I'll say the 6th round. And I will say he goes to, I want to say the Miami Dolphins, but let me check to see if they even have a 6th round pick here. They do not. So,
Okay.
So, interesting. You know what? Let's put him on the Raiders.
Okay.
The 200th overall pick to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay. I guess I'll go different. I was going to go 6 too. I don't want to keep picking all the same ones that you pick. Give me 7. Give me 7, round 7. And I don't have it in front of me. Do the Pittsburgh Steelers have a pick in the 7th round?
Pittsburgh Steelers have 2 picks in the 7th round.
Oh, there we go.
They have the 245th pick and the 254th pick.
All right, Tay Gowan to the Pittsburgh Steelers, round 7. That is my projection on that one. So, all right, so we got the.
Are you writing these down?
I'm writing these down. Yes, I'm not writing the pick numbers down. I'm just writing the teams. That takes care of the defensive guys, Mike. Let's go to the offensive guys for a moment here. Let's start receivers. 3 of those guys who are in the draft pool, if you will. Let's start with Mr. Trey Nixon, Mike. Trey Nixon will be drafted when?
Trey Nixon is going to stay close to home. He's going to go with the GOAT, Tom Brady, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 7th round, 251st pick.
All right, so Mike has Trey. Mike has Trey there. Okay, all right, I like that. I think that's a decent shot. I'm gonna say Trey goes. I'm gonna go 6th round for Trey. By the way, NFL.com has him going 5, so I'm gonna go 6th round for Trey, and put Trey on Cincinnati. They have a 6th round pick.
You got me scrolling up and down this board.
I know this is tough work for you. You're not used to having to look stuff up. I know.
We probably should have had this planned out before.
Why would we do that?
What did you say, 6th round?
Yeah.
They have 2 picks in the 6th round.
I'm going to go Cincinnati.
All right.
I'm going to go Cincinnati.
They have the 190th or the 202nd pick. What do you like?
I'll go 202.
And we talked about this with Trey when he was on the show.
Yep.
And he says, and he agrees, it doesn't matter which round he goes in. He knows that it's all about the situation you're put in. And you get somewhere with a quarterback that you can grow with, and that would work out great for him with Joe Burrow. And he can build a relationship there. And just that's the most important thing, I think, for wide receivers especially, to go somewhere where you can have a chance to really show what you got.
Well, I'm playing the Cincinnati card early because, as everybody may or may not know, Trey Walters, former offensive coordinator at UCF, is the wide receivers coach at Cincinnati. Now, Trey did not play for Troy Walters, so this is going to be my surprise. I feel like they're not going to be able to get all 3 UCF guys. I think maybe one of them will be off the board before they get there. So this is going to be my surprise. Trey did not play for Troy Walters, although I think he was recruited by UCF, if I remember what he told us correctly when we had him on the show. So he may have some familiarity. So that's where I'm going to go with Trey Nixon. Obviously, one of the guys that could also get drafted there, Mike, is Mr. Jacob Harris, whose name is just flying all over the place on draft boards. Everybody's trying to figure out what this guy is, how to play him, where to put him, what to do with him. But his measurables were completely off the charts. Obviously, it's interesting. Here's this guy named Lance Zierlein does some analysis, gives out some weaknesses. Here are some weaknesses for Jacob. Needs to become more willful with his size, which I think is fair. He has below average suddenness. I don't know what that means, but he's below average suddenness. Needs to post a better win percentage on contested catches. And the last one, Mike, hands were a mess at times in 2020 as he dropped 2 would-be touchdowns on deep throws. So Jacob Harris, Mike, again, NFL.com projects a 5th-round grade for Jacob Harris. Where does UCF Mike project Jacob Harris?
Yeah, I think Jacob has actually upped his stock in the offseason here. Yes, we've all talked about how he's had a bunch of drops over the last couple of years, but we've also talked about his measurables, and it came through on Pro Day. His speed, his size. I think somebody's going to take a shot at him earlier than we all thought they would a year or so ago. So I'll say he will go in the 5th round. I say he goes to Atlanta. They have 3 5th-round picks. I see them taking one of them on Jacob Harris.
That's a good one, Mike. Again, I don't know exactly if this particular team has I think they have a pick in this order, Mike. So I'm going to actually answer 2 questions at the same time. I'm going to go Jacob Harris 4th round to the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, interesting.
They got anything there?
4th round?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the 127th pick.
All right, I'm going to go
22nd
Indianapolis
pick of the
Colts.
4th round.
I have no idea why. I have no knowledge in this, but I feel like the tight ends there are a mess. I feel like Jack Doyle's got a concussion every 3rd game, so I don't know that he's playing there anymore. Obviously, Phillip Rivers has retired, so he won't be the quarterback there. I feel like they're kind of starting over. Harris maybe gives him a bit of a deep threat. I don't know if they're keeping T.Y. Hilton. I know he's getting up there in years, so maybe they need someone to run the deep routes. They have a lot of smaller receivers. I have no idea why. Jacob Harris, Indianapolis Colts, round 4 is my pick.
I mean, your guess is as good as anyone.
So you were not wrong, my friend. That leaves the final wide receiver from the UCF trio this past season, Mr. Marlin Williams. Marlin, there's a line in Marlin's weaknesses, Mike, that I might even use this again for Cal of the Week because I could not believe this. Again, this Lance Zierlein says a couple things. He body catches, which can cause drops, which is okay, fine. He's slow off the line and won't push corners into early retreat. All right, we understand that. His breaks and turns need to be a little crisper. Sure, fair enough. Here's the one I don't understand. Will sometimes make a business decision into traffic. Which I think means that he shies away from contact, which I think is the exact opposite of what we saw from Marlin Williams, as far as I can read this. Will make business decisions into traffic. I don't understand what that means, Lance Zierlein. Marlin's looking to hit anybody he can find. The NFL.com projection on Marlin, round 7 or / undrafted free agent. Mike, Marlin Williams is going where and when?
Well, I've never seen him not try to get hit by a ball, but with alligator arms, anything like that. That's what we're talking about, business decision. Never do I remember Marlin Williams doing that. I remember him going up and getting balls and attacking the football in the air and then just bowling over people on the way to the end zone. So I don't know what tape this guy was watching. But, everybody is saying he's going to be a late pick or undrafted. And, I mean, if that's the projections, and then obviously that's not always what happens. But I'll say he goes late, and he's my guy that we have to have one every year. End up on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep.
Whether he's undrafted or on their 7th round pick. They have number 249 overall. I say they even draft him or he signs with them the very next day.
Yeah, I can't let Marlin go undrafted, so I'm going to go 7th as well. So Mike went 7 to Jax. I've got to go 7 too because I can't have Marlin not get drafted. So give me 7 on Marlin Williams and give me the let me get the Baltimore Ravens. Do they have a 7th round pick?
Baltimore Ravens, who have drafted a wide receiver from UCF in the past.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them, like Kamar Aiken.
Rashad
Perriman.
Yeah.
Still trying to scroll there to where they are. Can you help if I went through the alphabet correctly?
That's...
All right, Baltimore Ravens, 7th. They do not have a 7th round pick.
That one really gets me. They're going to trade. They're going to trade in to get a 7th round pick. Now, all right, so no Baltimore. Then give me. See, I feel like Marlin. I'm looking for a cold weather team that's looking for a bigger guy that can just possession. In the snow and the sleet that are coming up, and just a smash mouth football team that just wants 8 yards and doesn't want these splashy kind of home run like running plays. That's where Baltimore came into my mind.
New York Football Giants.
I couldn't.
Please let it be. They don't have a 7th round pick either. But...
Yeah, it's fine. I couldn't. Give me then. Let's go Carolina Panthers. They get a 7th rounder.
Carolina Panthers have. No. Not so many teams picking in the 7th round, I guess. They traded their 7th round pick to Buffalo. You want to send them to Buffalo?
I thought about that. There's Gabe, but they're pretty stacked at the receiver spot. They got a lot of receiver guys there. I don't think that's I'm gonna stick with Carolina or Baltimore. One of those two are gonna get into a draft and they're gonna trade. Those are my two.
All right.
I'll be wrong on it.
Anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
Whatever picks you have now is not what you're going to end up having.
So we both have Marlin 7th round, which aligns with NFL.com. Mike, then we get to the running backs. Mr. Otis Anderson, again, NFL.com has him listed as a undrafted. Actually, I don't have him listed at all. I assume that means he's undrafted. Some weaknesses: very small to handle all running back duties. Can't break tackles on the inside. Quick, but needs to run with more explosiveness. Needs to work back as a receiver. Drops in traffic. Not big enough in pass protection. They do think that he's the kind of player that if he can catch on a sort of a fringe role, that he may have an opportunity, but they don't have him being drafted, it looks like, on this, Mike. What about you, Otis Anderson? What's his prospect look like?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see him being drafted either. He's one of these guys that needed to have a big pro day, and on his pro day, his 40 time wasn't as fast as we thought it should be. So a missed opportunity there for him. I don't see him drafted. Somebody will sign him. Somebody will get him on there on the roster and see what he can do. Maybe he can make some plays in the preseason or something and fight his way onto a practice squad or something. So let me say that I want to say the Eagles, but they kind of just did that with Adrian Killins. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they're going to take both of those guys. Give me the Jets. How about the New York Jets?
Jesus Lord.
For Otis Anderson.
Just end the season. I'm also going to agree with you. Otis probably not going to get his name called, but he is going to be my annual UCF to Jacksonville Jaguar connection. He's from Jacksonville, Mike. He's from the area. Urban Meyer, the coach there, is obviously has run some offenses that are probably similar to some of the skill sets Otis has in space and getting guys involved. So maybe they take a flyer on Otis. He's a local kid. So give me he's my annual UCF to Jaguar connection.
Well, maybe can I change it to the Arizona Cardinals? Because the Arizona Cardinals once had the original Otis Anderson.
Okay.
And maybe they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle here again, thinking maybe that there's a relation, even though they're not related. But maybe just trying something with the name here.
So the Mike has the Cardinals being morons and not knowing who's related to who. So that sounds about right, actually. So we'll take that. And last but not least, Mike, Mr. Greg McCrae. Not sure what to make of this. He does not even have a draft profile on NFL.com. They don't even have anything listed for him. So actually, no, just kidding. Here it is right here. I was lying to you. So Greg McCrae, at the very, very end of this particular draft profile, again, he does not have a grade, so it doesn't look like they are looking to have him drafted. They say he's below average burst and speed, is easily brought down by arm tackles, not much of a third down option. So they don't have much, at least projection-wise, for Greg McCrae. What do you think?
Yeah, I unfortunately don't see him being drafted either. I hope I'm wrong. But another guy that's going to be given a look by somebody, and that somebody is going to be the Tennessee Titans.
Wow. Okay. I mean, yeah, they got a couple guys there. So think that's interesting. So I'm gonna. Well, I think he'll end up UDFA as an undrafted free agent, and he'll have to go to a couple of camps, obviously. So bring Greg McCrae to the Kansas City Chiefs camp for me.
All right.
I feel like Andy Reid likes guys who are technicians, set up their blocks, kind of zone running type scheme, right? Like. I think maybe he fits into that a little bit. My other thought was going to be San Francisco because Kyle Shanahan does that same kind of nonsense. Patient runners, guys who will just find the hole and get a couple of yards. So I'll go Kansas City, maybe San Francisco, just because I feel like those veteran offenses kind of respect a runner like Greg, who I think everyone always called him sort of the tactician of the team, sets up his blocks really well. So that's my Greg McCrae prediction.
Yeah. Like we said. Nobody knows. But is that the last one?
That is the last one.
All right. So just doing this now, this whole exercise over the last 5 minutes or so, it's like I was saying, nobody knows anything. Not even these teams know who they're taking right now. You want to do a hat? If you can guess a person with the correct team in the correct round, you get a Sons of UCF hat? Because I don't know if anybody's going to be able to know one.
So they have to go team and round.
Yeah, just the team and round.
Just team round.
The team has 5 third-round picks, and you pick the third round, we'll give it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's throw it out there.
Team.
Yeah, throw it out there. So at Sons of UCF or at UCF Mike 1 on Twitter or Facebook. Pick a player, pick a round, pick a team, and if you're right, we'll get you a hat. What if somebody already has a hat? What are we gonna do? Send them another?
I mean, if they want another one.
Like if J.P. Gilbert, comes out on fire and or Barry Addict comes out on fire here and gets one right. I mean, maybe we let them pick who to send a hat to. I know there's other people looking for hats. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Either way, round and team could get you a Sons of UCF hat.
There you go. And I don't think it's – and you can guess one guess per player. So you can guess Marlin Williams, but you can only guess him to one team in one round. You can make a guess for each player, but you can only get – you know what I'm saying?
We got you.
Only guess each player to each team.
So one entry per UCF player per fan is what you're doing.
That's right.
That's what it is. All right. Well, let's see what happens.
Whether they have to submit it on Twitter or send us a message on Facebook or
tag us on Twitter with your predictions. Want to send us a DM on Twitter? Fine. If you want to get to us on Facebook, you can try that too. Whatever. That way there's full transparency. So we'll have your predictions there, and we'll see what happens. So find us on social media. Let us just tag us with your projections, and if you're right, maybe a hat comes your way.
There you go.
But if any of these are right, who the heck knows? Because I don't know how you're going to figure this out. I think probably the most likely. Well, what about undrafted guys? So that's a tougher spot, right? So if you say Otis undrafted to the Jags, I mean that's a pretty tough spot, right?
I mean, you still got to get the team right.
Okay.
I don't know. That's not that easy.
It is.
It's easier to say, he's not going to get drafted, but to nail the team, that may be difficult.
Well, the cool thing is we will be live Thursday night on the Sons UCF live broadcast, although I don't think any nights will be picked in that time period while we're talking, because we're only on 8 to 9. The draft starts at 8, and probably by the time 9 o'clock rolls around, we'll be on pick 4. But either way, if something happens to break that night, we'll be sure to cover it for you. But enjoy your guesses because they're probably just as good as any of the reputable NFL quote-unquote personnel folks. And that is your look around what's happening UCF and where we are right now. Let's take a quick pause here, Mike, and then we're going to roll out our next edition of the Big Three, and that's coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere, the Sons of UCF. We'll be right back.
Mike and Adam, Sons of UCF. That'll move those chains. That's good enough for another UCF first down.
All right, so the Big Three, again, if you're not familiar, we did this last week. We're going to pick the top 3 individuals or things, I suppose it could be at some point, in a very specific category. Last week we did UCF head coaches. We ranked them from 3 to 1 according to whatever metrics Mike and I think are important. And this week, Mike, in honor of our guest, the interview that you'll hear after this segment with Jeff Godfrey, who many of you probably know, hopefully know, came to UCF and started off as a quarterback, spent 2 seasons exclusively as a quarterback, then switched and became a wide receiver, finished up the last 2 years of his career as a wideout, catching passes from Blake Bortles. So, Mike, the big 3 category this week is big 3 guys at UCF who have changed positions. And this is a very specific category. By changed positions, we mean that they played significant time at one position and then played some significant time at a second position. It doesn't count if you were recruited as one thing or if you were, and then you switch to something else. And Mike, I don't know if you have this, but there's also one other quirk. I don't know if you have this person in there or if you've thought of this, like a Tristan Hill who came in for one play to knock a guy over. I don't know if I would consider that to be somebody changing positions. That was just a one-time deal. So we're not talking about a one-time play. We're not talking about, I was recruited as one thing and switched to something else. Literally playing at a different position and then switching to a new position. Those are the ground rules, Mike. Does that all make sense?
Yes, makes perfect sense to me.
Did you have Tristan Hill?
I did not.
I was wondering if you were going to go with a zany option for us there. So, okay, so you don't have Tristan Hill, but let's find out who we got. So we're going to rank these things 3, 2, 1. Mike and I do not compare lists ahead of time, so I don't know what he has. He does not know what I have. We could be surprised that one of us has forgotten one that the other remembered, but that's the fun of doing this thing live, Mike. So let's get this thing going. You can start first. Your number 3 position switcher in UCF history of football is who?
Well, that was my biggest fear, is that I'm missing an obvious one. I'm missing the Greg Lovelady on Valentine's Day thing here.
Still haunts us, yes.
And that's probably going to happen. So I had a hard time coming up with 3. So my number 3 is Michael Greco, who started out as a quarterback and moved over to safety.
Okay.
Now, if you remember, Michael Greco made his debut in 2007. I remember being at this game. It was a blowout at home. The stadium was brand new. I think it was the 3rd ever game at the Bounce House. And we're playing Memphis, and we're blowing them out. Greco comes into this game. I just looked over the stats again today. He went 11 for 12 for 151 yards, and we scored touchdowns on the first 4 drives he was in there. And my friend, Mike Sasso, I call him my name, he was in love with Greco. And another reason, he also went to the same high school as us, Cardinal Gibbons, down in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
So after that performance, all I heard from my buddy Sasso was Greco's got to be the quarterback. This guy is unbelievable. And Kyle Israel was the starter at that time. And he was a very good quarterback, and he was more of a game manager, I'd say. You let Kevin Smith do the work. But Greco came in and shined that day. He looked like he may have a career here ahead of us. And then the next year in 2008, he split time with Calabrese. He did have a couple big plays here and there. I remember a game in Boston College where he came in and had a big run and scored a touchdown in that game. And then the comeback against the Cows in 2008, where we didn't do anything offensively most of the game. He comes back, throws that late touchdown to Rocky Ross, ties it. We go to overtime, we lose. But he had some promise there as a quarterback, and nothing ever really materialized. He moves over to safety and played pretty well for himself in the defense. The defense overall was number 1 in Conference USA for that year, and he had a big part of it. I think he was 4th in the team in tackles. He had 45 tackles. He forced a fumble against Houston in that game in 2009 where we beat them for the first time we ever beat a ranked opponent. So, and he also made it to the NFL as a safety. He played for the Giants, and as you told me a couple months ago, he also was on the Green Bay Packers when they won the Super Bowl, or at least he got a ring from it.
Yeah.
So he made himself a professional career switching from quarterback to safety. So he is number 3 on my list, Michael Greco.
I do not have Michael Greco on my list today. This one, so my number 3 was interesting because I almost didn't pick it just because of the result here, because they weren't super favorable. But I think the name alone and the recognition will get him there. My number 3 position switcher at UCF is Brandon Marshall. So for those who don't recall, Brandon Marshall, all-world receiver in the NFL, started his career at UCF as a receiver. And then in 2004, O'Leary's first year on the job, we were just a dreadful team, and there was just a lot of injuries, a lot of things going on the defensive side of the ball. Brandon Marshall actually switches from receiver to play safety, makes 7 starts that year, Mike, ends up with 51 tackles that year, which actually led the team in tackles. He had 1 INT. He He had 1 tackle for loss. He had half a sack. He also had a forced fumble in that brief 2004 year. 2005, he goes back to receiver, has one of the best years ever. Leads us to the Hawaii Bowl. All told, he finished his UCF receiving career with 112 catches, 1,600 yards, and 13 touchdowns. And then again, one lone season where he was the leading tackler on the defense. Imagine if he'd been able to play 4 years at the receiver position, Mike. Imagine if we had a little bit more stability back then and weren't sort of transitioning a team. He also obviously ends up being a receiver full time, and that was probably his best position. But was selfless enough to take the move over to DB. Him and Mike SimsWalker both actually did a spell on the defensive backside. But Brandon Marshall is my number 3 position switcher for his brief stint in 2004 as our safety.
Yes, I did have Brandon Marshall as a guy on my list, but not in the top 3. He just missed out for me. And when we spoke with Coach O'Leary, actually, the first time we spoke with him, he said he thought Brandon Marshall should have stayed at defensive back. He thought he was better at defensive back than he was a receiver. Obviously, we know he's had a borderline Hall of Fame career in the NFL as a receiver. Who knows what he would have been as a defensive back. He's just an athlete, and he stepped in when the team needed him, and it was a job well done.
Well, and the only reason I almost didn't add him in there is because we went 0-12 that year. So he obviously the team did not have a lot of success. I don't know that I would put that all on him, though. And the fact that he needed to go play defensive back probably tells you where the team is at. But he still ended up being on a team that has some pretty big names on there, Mike. He still ended up having a pretty good year in defense. So that is my number 3. So you've got Greco, or I've got Brandon Marshall in the 3 spot. Number 2 on your big 3 big board for position switching UCF football players is who?
Well, you just mentioned him in the same year, Mike SimsWalker.
Okay.
Going from receiver to defensive back. And the reason I picked Walker over Marshall is while they were at UCF, Walker had the better career. I know Marshall had the better pro career, but Mike SimsWalker, 90 catches one year, which is a UCF record. 184 career catches. It's number 1 since we moved up to D1. It's number 4 overall behind guys like David Rhodes, Mark Nonsant, and Sean Beckton. But number 1 in the D1 era. Number 2 overall in yards in the D1 era. Only game passed by Traquan Smith a couple years ago. 2,561 receiving yards, 17 career touchdowns. And he made that switch in 2004 with Marshall to be a defensive back. Actually, I think played better than Marshall because he had 3 interceptions that year, and I think he only played 6 games as a defensive back, but made an impact on the defensive side. And then he came back as a receiver and had one of the best years ever in 2005. Gets hurt against Rice in the game we clinched the division. Doesn't get to play in the Hawaii Bowl. Comes back in 2006 and has I believe that was the year he actually came back and had 90 catches. So. He did both. He did offense, he did defense, and I think he did it a little bit better than Brandon Marshall on both sides of the ball.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I looked at him too. He was kind of one of my first guys out as well. But I felt like Brandon Marshall leading the team in tackles, being a statistical leader on a position that he never played before. He was a quarterback in high school. I felt like I gave him the nod there. But I can't argue Mike SimsWalker as a number 2 option. He just shows you how crazy he was. Basically, 2 NFL, all-pro NFL, Pro Bowl receivers. we moved them to defense, and probably because they were the best athletes and the best players on the team. Just shows you kind of how far UCF has come from that side. So that's your number 2. My number 2, Mike, I went with our guest this evening, Mr. Jeff Godfrey, as my number 2 position switcher, if you will, as I chronicled 2010, 2011 starting quarterback. 2012, 2013, a wide receiver, Mike. And I did this really for one specific reason. 2. His quarterback career at UCF, while obviously got cut short, and the 2011 season was certainly kind of a roller coaster, up and down year for him. People forget how electric that 2010 year was. We had just come off a 2009 year. We had Brett Hodges, a 1-year transfer as our quarterback. UCF was we were Kevin Smith, right? We were 300-yard rushing per game. We were 25, 30, 35 carries per game. And this kid comes in, Mike, and was so electric with the football, was making plays all over the place, just great throws, great runs, and the entire offense just seemed to like transform right in front of our eyes. Led us to our first ever bowl victory in 2010 against the Georgia Bulldogs, and was just set to have an electric career. Again, 2011, not his best season. in the interview he'll chronicle some, maybe some off the field stuff that I think was getting to him. But you can't deny his numbers from a passing standpoint. Those 2 years, 4,000 yards, 18 touchdowns. He had a 67% completion percentage. Oh, and by the way, he also ran for 19 touchdowns as well. So in those 2 years, it really accounted for 27 TDs from the quarterback position. Then he goes to receiver, and all he does there in his 2 years, 83 catches, 835 yards, 7 touchdowns, including probably one of the biggest touchdowns in UCF history. It made it pretty far in your greatest plays March Madness bracket, the touchdown catch at Louisville to seal the victory there, to lead us into that 2013 season, Mike. So for that big play alone, for the electricity that he brought to the team, plus, let's be fair, the off the field stuff, I think, he'll tell you in the interview, he thought maybe his UCF career was done. He was going to transfer, he was leaving, he was out, and to not only kind of make some changes, humble himself, and come back and ask to be brought back and be willing to play a new position and have some success in that position is probably not easy to do just from a maturity perspective. And he did it really well. He went on to play a little bit of time at a receiver position in the NFL. Didn't make a team, but was on some practice squads. Played a handful of games at the American Alliance of Football until that thing folded. So definitely still continued his career forward, Mike. So Jeff Godfrey is my number 2 UCF position switcher.
All right, because he's my number 1 guy, which makes me even more scared that I'm forgetting an obvious one. But Godfrey, you're absolutely right. His freshman year, 2010, probably the best freshman year we've seen at quarterback since Dante, and maybe even to this date still the top 2, or maybe even you can argue the top freshman season out of a quarterback we've ever seen. He was number 1 in completion percentage in Conference USA. He was number 1 in a bunch of stats in Conference USA. Beat East Carolina, which at the time was a big win. Remember, they had beat us 4 years in a row. He's going to talk about it leading up to that game, how big that game was for this team. And winning the conference, beating SMU in the conference championship game, going to the bowl game, first ever bowl win in the Liberty Bowl against Georgia. And he did it all, man. And he can run, like you were mentioning. He scored 47 total touchdowns at UCF, 46 of them the natural way, I guess you can say, between the quarterback receiving and running. And then he recovered a fumble for a touchdown, for his 47th touchdown. He did everything. He even returned punts a couple times, only 3, but he went back there. The guy was able to do it all. Throw, run, catch, and like you mentioned, one of the biggest plays in UCF history, the touchdown against Louisville. Remember, he ran the Wild Knight also in that season.
Yeah.
So even though he had switched over to receiver, they still put him back there for a couple plays. I remember a big run against Penn State in the Wild Knight package. So just an explosive player and so much fun to watch. I loved watching him at the quarterback. When he came in as quarterback, I thought he was going to be the guy for the next 4 years there. And then to be able to take that and switch over and make just as big an impact at receiver, to me, is the number 1 position change. But now that you've already put him at number 2, I'm scared to see what I forgot at number 1.
Well, I feel like this is a forgotten one, and I don't know if it's a nuanced one because it's probably not as easily memorable, but it technically is a position switch. It's actually on the internet if you look up his stats, Mike. This guy was buried on the depth chart and the defensive backfield after his first 3 seasons. Played a bunch. Shakeem Griffin is my number 1 position switcher, Mike. Yes. Played sparingly in 13 and 14. Played a handful of games in 2015 as a DB. 29 total tackles, 1 INT in those 3 seasons in the defensive backfield. 2016 comes around. He moves to the linebacker spot under Chenander and Frost. And in those 2 years, 16 and 17, all he does is put up 166 tackles, 33.5 tackles for loss, 18.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 1 touchdown in those 2 seasons. So while maybe a bit of a technicality, he was initially a DB at UCF, who was not getting any run. Legendarily, people had said, or he had said, that he was kind of getting disillusioned, wasn't sure what was going to happen with him. And Coach Frost and Coach Chenander are credited really with giving him a lifeline and giving him a chance to try a new position and to use his speed and his quickness off the edge there. And like 33.5 tackles for loss, 18.5 sacks. I'd say that worked out pretty well. So Shakeem going from defensive back to linebacker is my number 1 UCF position switcher of all time.
All right. If we're going to count that, then yes. In 2016, he had one of the best seasons you're ever going to see in any defensive player. Player of the year in the conference for defense, just all over the field. I think he even had a better season in 2016 than he had in 2017. In 2017, he was great. He was the leader of the team. He carried us that day in the Peach Bowl all over Jared Stidham. And all year, he did the same thing. I remember coming into that season, he said he was going to live at the practice facility. He never went home during fall camp. Camped out there. And it showed. You know, he made a huge impact in every single game he played in. And well deserving. And I guess I forgot that he was listed as a DB. I don't really remember as a DB. Maybe I was just confusing him with his brother, who we know is a DB. But all right, if you want to count it, then I'll give it to you.
I do want to count it as my number one position switch because, obviously he had to put on some weight, I think, to play that spot. And I think it's the part of the legendary sort of story with Shakeem is, he was willing to do whatever it took to get on the field. And even though he was disillusioned and wasn't maybe sure what his career was going to be, he came in there and got that second opportunity to shine and obviously took full advantage of it. He's, one of the most iconic players in UCF history. And you're right, those 2 seasons alone, just banana. Again, he had 29 tackles in 3 years as a DB and 166 in 2 years as a linebacker. Was just a man amongst boys and a huge part of that 2017 run as well. Even though, to your point, statistically, 16 was probably a better season for him, but a huge part of the run. Mike, that's this week's big 3 position switching players in UCF football history. If we missed anybody, Mike and I are always scared that we've missed one along the way. So somebody out there, feel free to keep us honest. You can find us on social media at Sons of UCF or at UCF Mike 1. If we miss somebody, let us know. If you agree or disagree with our list, make sure you let us know that as well. We'd love to hear from you. If you have your own big 3, feel free to put it out there on social media. We'd be happy to hear that as well, Mike. And we both have the guy coming up next on the big 3. A couple of things we should orient you on this conversation. So this took place, I don't know, probably like 2.5 years ago at this point now, Mike. Most of it will still hold true. There are some references to an upcoming game he's going to be playing with the Orlando Apollos. Spoiler alert, there is no upcoming game with the Orlando Apollos. So that obviously was as he was preparing to take on his first challenge in the AAF. So don't fool yourself. The Apollos are not back. The league is not back. Everything else, though, should hold up pretty true, Mike. And it was great to catch up with Jeff back then. We hope you guys are going to enjoy this one because there's a lot of truth, a lot of great O'Leary stories in this particular interview as well. So if you haven't heard it yet, you're in for a real treat. Don't go anywhere, Sons of UCF. We'll be right back right after this with Jeff Godfrey.
Who are the Suns talking to this week? Let's find out.
All right, folks, so we're excited to bring our next guest into the show. This guy had a pivotal role in UCF football history, and we're excited to get a chance to talk to him and catch up with him. He's currently playing now with the Orlando Apollos of the American Football League. We'll get back into that second, but happy to welcome Jeff Godfrey to the show today. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing fine, man. Thanks for having me.
No, man, we appreciate it, man. So, again, we certainly want to talk about your time at UCF and what's going on with you and the Apollos, but let's start here. So, I assume you've been keeping up with what's happened with UCF here over the past 2 seasons. What do you make of the last 2 years for UCF football?
I love what UCF is doing right now, man. I'm 100% behind it and love everything about the program, starting with Coach Frost. When he was there, went 0-2 his first year, came back and went undefeated. It was just amazing coach. Like I said a little before, next coach came in, did the same thing. The program is just going well, and I love what it's doing right now.
For people who don't understand, so obviously you played football your entire life, how hard is it to win 25 straight games? Like, I know as a fan base, it's almost like we got spoiled as that streak was going on, but now that it's kind of it's behind us and we're starting anew, can you just in words tell people like how hard it is to win 25 straight football games?
It's very hard, man. I mean, you got to come in every week with a different game plan, knowing your opponents and getting ready for that game. So it's not easy at all. But those guys there, they had a mentality that they're going to go 1-0 every week. And that's something that they did real good. And going 1-0 every week, that's how they won 25 games. And there's a lot of preparation, a lot of hard work. And I'm so proud of those guys for doing that, man. So it's not easy at all.
Hey, Jeff. With Mackenzie Milton and Daryl Mack, and now we got Brandon Wimbush, What do you think about the quarterbacks we have now in that QB room for UCF?
All studs. I love all three of those guys. Mackenzie Miller, he's a big star there. He's a student of the game. Mac, he's another great guy that's very good when he's on the field. And Brennan, I watched him a little bit at Notre Dame, and I think he's going to do awesome with that offense at UCF. So all three quarterbacks are studs and love them.
Well, I know you had Charlie Taff when you were there, so it was kind of coming out of the Stone Age offense with O'Leary. But what do you think it would have been like if you were in the offense of the last couple of years now at UCF? Do you think we had some fun in there?
I would have had a lot of fun in that offense there, man. That's a great offense, man. Seeing those guys in that offense making the plays and making the reads that they're doing out there is tremendous. It's wonderful, and like I said, I wish I was in that offense.
Which I know you're still plugged into the football scene. I know you were in Miami, still plugged in with the high school scene. What do like the high school kids say about like that UCF style offense? Are they, obviously UCF is an up and coming program, but as they've gained notoriety the last couple of years, and the kids have sort of seen how we play offense. What do you hear from like high school kids and kids in and around the city as they think about UCF?
Man, you wouldn't believe some of the questions I get by trying to get some of those kids there at UCF and asking me what can I do, pull some strings because they love the offense there. They see it's a great offense. They see it's pass run offense. They love it, and everybody want to be in it. I mean, I kind of want to go back into my years and see if I could be in it. So I'm right along with them. It's a great offense, man.
Well, that brings us to your obviously your time at UCF. So as Mike mentioned, you went there in 2010 under O'Leary. What made you pick UCF? How did you decide to attend UCF?
I've had a lot of big schools that was recruiting me, and I really didn't want to go there and sit behind anybody. When UCF was recruiting me, David Kelly told me that the quarterbacks that they had a upcoming senior. Which is Rob Calabrese, and they had another guy behind him. And they told me fair and square, if I come in and do what I have to do, I could get a lot of playing time and eventually be the starter. And with that, I graduated in December and went up there in January and worked my butt off, and everything fell into place. I mean, unfortunately, Rob got hurt, and that would had me to be the starting job. But I think that was already happening. Like I said, I worked my behind off and was in the film room every day, in the playbook every day, trying to learn everything. And there's a lot of help from the older guys, the receiver core, the running back, the O-line. So, I mean, it was that's the main thing I was worried about, getting in the game, playing, because I never sat on the sideline in my entire life watching a game. So I wanted to play right away.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. You got in and you played all right, man. You were electric your freshman year. But man, you were a different kind of quarterback. So I mean, we hadn't seen a quarterback with your skill set at UCF. Even Dante, he was obviously he was a little bigger than you were. So going into the offense, how much of that your freshman year was what the offense was, and how much did they have to open up the playbook as they kind of got a feel for your skill set and what it is that you could bring to the field?
I mean, they had to do some tweaks to the playbook, not so much. Charlie Taff, he asked me what I was comfortable with a lot, and I told him. I was very open to everything. I think I was willing to learn and do everything that they wanted me to do. And I think I did a great job my freshman year with those offensive plays that they gave me and opening up the playbook and doing the things I was comfortable with doing. So I think they did a great job there, and I was very happy with it.
What was it like playing for O'Leary? I know he's a fiery guy. He's pretty intense. How did that go for you?
I mean, it went well. It taught me a lot. As a kid coming in, 18 years old, learn to be disciplined, learn to be on time, learn to do what you have to do inside the classroom where you're not going to play. It was different at first, but I thank George O'Leary a lot for what he did for me and disciplined me on everything on and off the field. Like you said, he's a very intense guy. He's on it. He's always wants you to be on it. So, I mean, that helped me a lot, and I'm thankful for it.
He's not afraid to get in people's faces, players' faces, especially the quarterbacks.
No.
Was there ever a time he got in your face during a game and you thought to yourself, yeah, I might have to hit this dude?
Never thought about hitting him. But when we played against Kansas State, we was down 3 points. And before the play, George O'Leary he came and told me, he said, no matter what, keep the ball. And so when we ran the play, it was a zone read play. the end kind of stayed outside, and I gave it to the running back, and we didn't score. But it was the right read, and when I came to the sideline, he let me have it. And I was like, Coach, I couldn't do anything. The end jumped out. He was like, I don't care, Ace. I told you to keep the ball. You keep it. And ever since then, and when he told me to keep that ball, I kept it. So I mean, that's how he is, man. So that was great.
But that season ended pretty well. We had, I think, our best record at the time, and it gave us our first bowl win over Georgia in the Liberty Bowl. What was it like to do that as a true freshman?
That was huge, man. At the time, I didn't know how big it was. I think I was kind of stuck on the conference championship when we played SMU first. That was a very big game for me. A lot of fans there had the bounce house rocking, loved them for that. But when we got to that bowl game, it was a bigger stage. We was down for a long time, but kept my composure. George O'Leary always told me that this is my game. Be smart about it. Do what I've been doing all year. And the older guys, they backed me up. So when we won that game, it was like, okay, we won a bowl game. But it's the first bowl game in UCF history. So that was a big thing for me and big thing for the team and a big thing for the program. So it was like a big wow for me to be a part of that.
Yeah, so based on obviously that success as a freshman, there were certainly a lot of expectations coming into the sophomore season. Did you feel any additional pressure as you sort of prepared for your sophomore year, or anything that you sort of did differently as you went on to start year two?
Nothing differently. Nothing differently with the offense. Nothing differently with the plays. What I can say, when Coach Kelly, the guy that recruited me, when they let him go, it kind of changed the momentum and everything, because he was a very guy I was close with. He started recruiting me since my 8th grade year, always checking up on me and everything like that. So when he left, that took a big toll on me, and I think that would hurt me a lot. But I mean, I still did well. Eventually, Coach George O'Leary had some other plans by starting me the whole game and taking me out the whole second half and letting Blake play. He said that he was just trying to get the younger guys to play, but I mean, I know where it's kind of going at. So, I didn't eventually cry about it. I did what I had to do the first half, and some games we won, some games we lost. And it was sometimes that George brought me in the office and said that he was wrong for taking me out at this point in time and things like that, and I respected him for that. So, I mean, it was just something that he was doing at the time, and you know how George O'Leary is. When he wants to do something, he does it.
Did he ever admit that he waited too long in that NC State game to put you in?
He never. One thing about that, he never admitted that, man. But I was, man.
We could have won that game.
Yes, when I was in his pocket that game. We was down 21-7. I'm like, all right, Coach, I'm ready. I'll keep telling him third quarter come, Coach, I'm ready. He's still not saying nothing to me. Then he called my name, Godfrey. Okay, I got in there and I was ready, man. Like I said, if I would have started that game or gotten a little earlier, I definitely think we would have won that game.
If you would have started that game, we would have blew them out. I'll say that right now.
Yes, I agree.
All right, so let me ask you this. Coming off that bowl win against Georgia, then we start the new year. We win the first couple games. We beat Boston College at home. The place was rocking. The next week, you're coming back to Miami, coming back home against FIU. What the heck happened in that one, man?
That game there, I think we kind of over game plan. I think we took them lightly that game. We had a bad week of practice that whole week. Some of the guys was kind of relaxed. I mean, we just beat Boston College, like you said. And the guys was like, all right, we're playing FIU. I think we got ahead of ourselves, and those guys did a great job about beating us at their home turf. So I think we kind of like got a little too relaxed, and we was on a high pedestal, and that game there just brought us back down.
Right. And then the next week, we go to BYU, and you have the injury. Looking back, how tough was that injury, and how do you think it affected your play for the rest of the year?
That injury was tough, man, because I really was hurt, but I really wanted to play through it. I didn't want to let my teammates down, and that injury, it hurted me a lot. Like I said, that's when George started putting Blake in the game, and I kept telling him that I was all right, but I think he didn't want me to risk it more than what it was. But BYU was a close game. I think we lost that game by 3 points.
Yeah, I was at that one. Man. We had JJ muffed the punt, and they scored a short touchdown.
Yeah,
and they scored on a kick return too. So that was 2 of their touchdowns.
2 of their touchdowns, and we also fumbled the ball when we threw it when we was going in to score, and they got it. So I mean, it was pretty rough.
So you mentioned obviously towards the end of your sophomore year, splitting time with Blake. So from a quarterback standpoint, what does that do for your rhythm? And so how do you kind of get on the same page with your teammates as you practice throughout the week? How tough is that when you're playing and then you're out and then you're back in? What does that do to a quarterback's rhythm?
I mean, it messes a quarterback rhythm up because you really don't have a rhythm of the game. And I wasn't really throwing the ball a lot. I think I was like 6 for 7 for like 94 yards, and then I'll be out the whole second half. And then sometimes in the first half he'll take me out. And I mean, the rhythm, it just messes you up. You don't have a feel of the game by going in and coming out. So I think that's not good for a quarterback at all. Once you get to play, you plan so much, playing the whole game, but then this next game you're just going in for the first half or two drives and getting out. I mean, the rhythm is bad, and not any quarterback is not gonna have a great rhythm by doing that.
And then obviously, so that summer you left the program for a bit. And then you decided to come back, but you came back as a wide receiver. So I guess 2 parts. How did that come about? And then why did you make the decision to come back?
I wanted to leave because the time splitting. Like I said, I was just starting the first half, never played no second half my sophomore year. So I kind of figured out what they wanted to do with Blake by making him the starter and having me as the backup. But I didn't see what I did wrong or what I was doing wrong my sophomore year. So I decided I wanted to leave the team, but I didn't want to leave my brothers like that. And I had other schools I could have went to, such as Arizona, FAU, Miami, FIU. So I just decided to come back. But when I came back, I thought we was going to have a quarterback battle. And George brought me in. He was like, if you're coming back, we need receivers. You have to play receiver. I mean, so by being the guy that I am, I wasn't going to be like, no, I'm playing quarterback, this and that. Whatever the team needed at that time, I was willing to help, and was so grateful that the team welcomed me back. So when I came in, they said we need a receiver, and I said, okay, I'll play receiver. I knew all the plays. I ended up the second leading receiver my junior year at receiver with about 8 touchdowns and about 564 yards. So I mean, I'm a team player at the end of the day. I'm not selfish. I'm not that type of guy. So whatever the team needs at the time, I'm willing to do it.
I know it was reported. I know it was reported when you came back that you sat down and you talked to all your teammates. You apologized to your teammates. How tough was that conversation?
The conversation was tough because a lot of the teammates knew what was going on. And before I left, I told some of the players I was close with that I was going to leave. But that conversation was tough, man. I told them that I'm coming back and I'm playing receiver. A lot of the guys were surprised. A lot of the guys were like, man, they would have left and this and that. But like I said, I didn't want to leave my teammates out on the drive. And my brothers came back and wanted to help the team any way I can.
Well, obviously, you're a tremendous athlete and always have been. But what was the hardest part about making that switch to receiver? Is it just the technique, or what was it?
The hardest part about making that decision was the route running. Learning how to get out the breaks faster, learning how to wrap the linebackers, learning how to read the coverage from a receiver standpoint. I mean, I knew the coverages from a quarterback standpoint and where I wanted the receivers to be at, but once you're running it, it's not that easy as you think it is. So, I mean, running the routes and getting open and wrapping the linebackers and learning the coverage from a receiver standpoint and not a quarterback standpoint. That was the hardest thing for me. But once I got it down pat, I think I did a very great job at it.
I think so, too.
Well, one of the routes that UCF fans remember you most for running is the route in 2013 against Louisville where you caught the winning touchdown pass. So do you still remember the play call? Do you know what that play was?
Yeah, I remember the play call. We was in bunch right, and we was in wide right close, and we motioned the bunch. And I was the point guy in the bunch. I was the wide guy. And I had a corner, and Renell Hall, he had a in route. And Joshua Reid, he had a slant. So by me being the point guy, I got off the guy that was trying to jam me and kind of creep behind the defense and did a corner route. And they were so focused on Renell and Josh coming inside that middle that they left me in the back of the end zone, and I seen the ball coming and caught the ball, and that was a game-winning touchdown. It was great.
Well, yeah. So clear up a conspiracy theory that some fans have had. So there's some fans that were curious if that play was for you or if Blake was really trying to throw to Speedy Hall. It looked like maybe he threw it a little bit behind you. So was that play meant for you?
The play wasn't meant for me. I think he was throwing it to Brunel, and it kind of came for me. So.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. Right place, right time. We'll take it.
Yeah, I ran my route and I was looking for the ball, and I'm glad it went that high and came to me.
Yeah,
Blake's never admitted that, has he?
No, he never admitted it.
Brunel looked like he thought it was coming to him.
Yeah, Brunel definitely thought it was coming to him. When we went on the sideline, he was like, "Man, he threw the ball too high," but I'm glad you caught it. I was like, man, I'm glad it went high.
As a quarterback, would you ever admit that? Would you admit that was the bad throw?
Oh yes, I always take responsibility. As a quarterback, I think your receivers and your teammates respect you more when you take responsibility and tell them that it was your bad. You'll get it next time, next play, this and that and that. So I've always been like that.
I have 3 favorite Jeff Godfrey plays from UCF.
Okay.
Tell me if any of these are your favorite, or maybe you have a different one.
Okay.
Number 1, against East Carolina, you started like you were about to scramble. You juked this guy. And then you threw a bomb, I think it was Kamar Aiken, in the back of the end zone for like a 50-yard touchdown.
That's definitely top 1.
That's number 1?
That's definitely number 1.
You know, people don't remember, but ECU used to give us a hard time, man. They beat us in 2007. I think they beat us 3 years in a row coming into that game.
The crazy part about that, we had a big meeting as a team without the coaches, and they were just telling us, man, we got to get ECU this year. And they've been beating us and killing us. So, I mean, that was a big, important game for us. So we came out on fire. I think we went up 14-zip in the first quarter. So we was ready. We was pumped.
Yeah, I remember that game vividly. All right, my other plays against Boston College to seal the win, running over Luke Kuechly into the end zone.
Definitely top 2.
Okay. And then number 3 was the catch against Louisville.
I want to say that's top 3 because that ball wasn't meant for me, but I remember when we played against it was my freshman year, and we played against I'm trying to remember the team name was. My freshman year. It was my freshman year. We played against UAB.
Okay.
And we had an option route, and it was me and the running back and the safety and the corner. And I went to the option, and I kind of faked the pitch, and the safety went hauling to the running back, and I was going out of there. But I really supposed to pitch the ball. It was an automatic pitch, but I seen him going to the running back, so I kind of faked it and ran out. But that's my top 3 right there.
All right. I think that game was probably a blowout. Maybe I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was a blowout. That's a blowout.
Right. So, okay. Some of these newer UCF fans have only been following the team the last couple of years. They might not remember this, but I think, in my opinion, the wide receiver group that we had with you, Perriman, J.J. Wharton, and Hall, I think that's the best. I think that's better than even the last couple of years with Traquan, Gabe Davis, Snelson, and Trey Nixon. What do you think?
I mean, that receiver core that we had, we called ourselves prime time, and that was the best receiver core, period. I mean, having Bashar Perriman blowing the top off, catching all those bombs and those safety, Speedy, he's a quick, fast guy, getting the ball, could do a lot with his hands. JJ has tremendous hands, catching everything, and me doing what I can do, just getting in there and adding additional to that was great. And we also had Josh Reese, another big-time player that's with that receiver crew as well.
Yeah, I can't forget Reese. The blocks that guy had, and if you go back and look at that Louisville drive at the end of that game, he made 2 huge plays on that drive.
Huge plays on that drive.
We would have never even gotten scoring position.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jeff, your UCF career came to an end with, at least on a high note. And then you embarked on some NFL tryouts. You had some tryouts with Houston, Miami. What was that experience like? How much in awe were you stepping on an NFL field and lacing up your cleats with NFL players? And what was that entire experience like for you?
The experience was great because I was living my dream. It's been my dream since I was 4, since I started playing football was to be on an NFL team, to actually put on an NFL jersey, helmet, and get out there and compete with those guys. So that made my dream come true, and I was very happy and very grateful for the opportunities that the team gave me. So I mean, it was like a dream come true.
What was the biggest difference when you stepped on the field for the first time against NFL level talent?
I think the game is faster. There's a lot more guys bigger, a lot more guys that's way talented than you are, but you have to do your best out there and give it your all. But I think that's the big difference, that the game was way more faster than what it was in college.
Well, then you spent some time away from football. You were down in Miami, and then you got a call from the Apollos. How did you find out about the Apollos, and what made you interested in trying out for them?
Renell Hall, he was the first guy that was on the Apollos, and he was telling me about this new lead and everything about that. So I was like, man, I got to get on that team, man. It's right there in Miami. He was like, we're going to play at UCF. I was like, oh, man, it's like coming back home. So I was like, man, I got to get on that team. So I contacted the player personnel guy, which was Josh Hinch, and he told me to send him some videos. And, I went back deep into videos. In my freshman year, playing quarterbacks and receiver videos, sent him my whole highlights. And he was like, yeah, man, all right, we're going to sign you. I'm with it. So I was like, man, thankful for the opportunity. And I'm here now in training camp and doing a great job here.
Hey, how involved is Coach Spurrier and the team now? Is he in the practices, in the meetings? Or
he's been here since day one. He's a great guy. He's a offensive-minded coach. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's calling. And I love him. I'm ready to see how it's going to be on game day.
Well, you're listed as a receiver. I know you want to throw the ball a couple times. Have you guys practiced any plays where maybe a trick play where you get to throw it, or do you get into the offensive coordinator's ear and remind them every once in a while, hey, I can still sling the ball a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, they don't see me throw the ball out there. Some Coach Spurrier know I can throw the ball, so you never know what he has up his sleeve. So whenever my number is called, I'm ready for it. I can still throw the ball. I still throw it every day, and I'm ready.
Well, so the launch game for the Apollos is February 9th against the Atlanta Legends. It's 8 p.m. At Spectrum Stadium. So, Jeff, based on what you've seen so far in practice, I know you guys had a joint practice the other day. What can fans expect out of this new league? What kind of football is it? Any new rule changes? Anything like that? I guess what can fans expect from the new league?
Fans can expect a lot of points. I know a lot of people watching football. They love offense. They love points. They love seeing people score touchdowns, and I think that's what we're going to do here with the Apollos. We have a lot of talented guys. We have a very explosive offense, and I think they're going to see a lot of points. They're going to be hyped about it. We need the bounce house rocking on February 9th for the launch game. All my UCF fans come out, and it's going to be good. If you like seeing touchdowns, you like seeing the score run up, how UCF do it, make sure you be out there February 9th.
We appreciate.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch you guys, all the old UCF guys back out there. It's going to get me a little nostalgic just watching you guys in the bounce house again.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I never thought I'd play in the bounce house again. So having this opportunity to play in the bounce house again with all the work that they did to it, it's going to be tremendous. It's going to be great, and I'm ready for it. February 9th can't get here any faster.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate your time. We'll get you out of here on this. So we try to end every interview with some rapid fire questions, right? So I got a bunch of rapid fires for you here. Okay. 1-2 word answers are perfect. So here's the first one for you. Who was the strongest teammate you ever had?
Strongest teammate I ever had was Rob Calabrese. That guy there could squat. That guy there could squat so much. So
really?
Rob Calabrese, he was a strong guy. And E.J. Dunson, a very strong guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were at UCF and in and around campus, what was your favorite go-to spot for food?
Favorite go-to spot? Nitros. I love Nitros. All you can eat buffet. They had very great salad. Salad is my favorite dish, man. So anytime it's ready for Nitro, anytime after practice I go to Nitros, got me a salad before class, eat what you have there, what they have there, burgers, fries. So Nitros was my favorite spot.
We talked about him earlier. So what nickname did you have for George O'Leary when he wasn't around?
Ace.
I thought that was his nickname for you guys.
Yeah, that was. So we always made fun of him, like calling each other Ace or calling him Ace. So I mean, that was a very good nickname for him. Every time you hear him talking, he, come on, Ace. I said you keep the ball, Ace. So we used to mimic him a lot on that. So that was a very common nickname for him.
What was and who gave you the hardest hit you ever took?
Khalil Mack when we played against Buffalo.
That'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, that guy, man. It was an option play, and a linebacker scrape, and Khalil Mack came down the line hauling to it. And when he hit me, I was like, but I got back up. But that was the hardest hit I ever had, Khalil Mack.
Which teammate would you pick to join you in an all-you-can-eat contest?
Jordan McRae and Justin McRae, both of those guys.
See, it's funny. I told Mike before we started when I asked this question, I'm like, it's going to be one of the McRaes. Like, there's too many of them. It's got to be a McRae. There's no way it's not a McRae.
Yeah, it's a McRae. Any one of the McRaes, I'll have them join me.
All right. One thing we talked. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I feel bad for his parents and their grocery bill.
I mean, I think they buy their own groceries now.
Yeah, I hope so.
Mike talked about like old school and new school UCF fans. One of the things that as an old school fan, I'm really happy about is we've got a lot of cool jersey combos now. So, truth be told, what'd you think of that gold jersey you had to rock all those years?
I mean, look, compared to the jerseys now, that jersey was very plain.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get a UCF jersey, the space jersey.
Okay.
I want one of those jerseys so bad with Godfrey on the back, and I want a helmet.
Okay.
Well, so haven't made that happen for you?
Not yet. I've been asking. I'm still gonna ask when I get back up there, but I think those are the coolest. Those are the coolest jerseys that they have, man. I love them. That black.
Hey, you're gonna be in the building now all the time, so you can hassle them all day until they give you one.
Yeah, all day.
So when you were playing quarterback, was there ever a time that you either didn't remember the play or you didn't like the play and you changed a new one in the huddle?
I think in practice, and Georgia Leary let me have it. He let me have it because we went off signals, and when I was coming in my freshman year, I was the second screen in practice behind Rob, and I got the signal. It was like 10 seconds left, and I didn't get the signal all the way. So I was like, all right, man, we're going to run this. And our plays were scripted. So when we ran a different play, he stopped the play and he let me have it. He was like, we don't do that here, Ace. You call the play that was called. And I was like, yes, sir. And ever since then, I mean, I got it down pat because you don't want George O'Leary in your face screaming. You want him to be saying, good job, Ace.
Yeah, I sure.
Yeah, how is the breath on that? You have bad breath, George?
George, he dips, so I mean, it's pretty bad. You gotta take it. You gotta take it how it is, but you gotta let him know. Come on, coach, you can't spit on me with the dip now.
All right, I got two tough ones to wrap this up for you. So, who's the best? Okay. Who's the best quarterback to come out of Dade County in the last 20 years?
Jeff Godfrey. Come on.
All right, there we go. Nice enough. And then who's the best? Who's the best quarterback in UCF history?
Say it again.
I'll say Mackenzie Milton, man.
Casey, okay.
That guy there, I besides myself, I'll say him. Like I said, he's a student of the game. He loves the game. I had a chance to talk to him. I talked to him sometimes on the phone, talked to him sometimes on Instagram. Even when I was there, I talked to him with his injury and everything. That kid there, he talks football. He don't really talk about anything else. If you have a conversation with Mackenzie Milton, he could break down the defense. He could tell you where he wanted to go with the ball. He could tell you everything that's happening on the field. And that's being a leader, a quarterback, and a general of the game. So besides myself, I will say Mackenzie Milton.
All right, just a reminder. So February 9th, the Atlanta Legends are coming to Orlando to play the Orlando Apollos. For single game or season tickets, you can go to aafapollos.com. Also follow them on all the social media platforms as well. Jeff, we appreciate you coming out and talking with us tonight, man. I know you got training camp going on, a lot of things happening out there. Again, we're super excited to get you guys launched here in Orlando. Can't wait to see you back in the bounce house, man. And we'll certainly be rooting for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Make sure y'all come out February 9th to check us out. Go Apollo.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each week for unique yet common sense opinions on sports on the Jeff Allen Sports Talk Podcast. We will break down the sports world minus the hot takes with prominent guests and my stable of sports guys. It's sports conversation the way it should be. Search Jeff Allen Sports Talk wherever you get your podcasts or go to jeffallensportstalk.com.
There are cows among us. Adam and Mike will tell you who.
All right, it's Cow of the Week time. You never know what you're going to get. Cow of the Week time, Mike. Again, Jeff Godfrey, it's been a couple years since we've heard that conversation. Hopefully everybody enjoyed hearing from Jeff. Yeah, here's the thing, Mike. We did so many great interviews early on in the show. Obviously, they're not available to the mass public now. A lot of them were some really cool conversations. Some of them probably predate a lot of you who are maybe listening to us now. So we want to try to find ways to bring some of those back. We were trying to figure out, do we just release them one at a time? Do we, try to stash them someplace for everybody? But, as opposed to, maybe getting somebody who we haven't talked to yet, maybe we'll bring back some of these old interviews every now and again for everyone to enjoy. But we appreciate it. If you've listened to it already once before, thanks for listening to it a second time. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation, Mike. And Jeff was super honest, and that was really the first time is we want to dive in the Wayback Machine of the show. We hung up and with Jeff, and we were like, man, that's awesome. If we can keep doing that every week, we might just figure something out here. And we've been so fortunate to 130 shows in to have had so many great guests along the way. And at fun Sons of UCF trivia, Jeff Godfrey will be the first one. So if there's ever UCF Sons of UCF's Jeopardy question and they'll ask who the first interview was, you guys will all know the answer now. Congrats.
Yeah, you always remember your first. Oh. I remember we were gonna,
well, please don't tell more stories.
We were recording this, and we had never done an interview before, so we're waiting to hear from Jeff Godfrey. We called him like 3 times, right? And he didn't answer the phone. And I'm like, "Are you sure you got his phone number? Are you sure we're actually going to do this thing?" And I remember recording it really late too. It was like, yeah. Before, like I said before, we recorded these shows at like 9:30 all the time. But this interview, I remember being like not starting until like 10:30, almost 11 o'clock by the time we actually got him on the phone. But once we did, that's it. History was made. We had a player interview, and we've been on a roll ever since.
We have. And history was also made when we came up with the Cow of the Week segment, Mike, which was our way of making fun of our little brothers there to the west. And it was something that irritated us, annoyed us, pissed us off, whatever you want to say. So each week for the last 130 shows, we've given you a Cow of the Week, Mike. It's been it's gone all kinds of places. And this week's installment's probably no different. I know you've got a unique one. Maybe yourself, maybe others. I don't really know where you're going with this one, but the floor is yours, my friend. Cow of the Week this week is what?
Well, yeah, I guess I can say myself, but my brother-in-law has somebody that he wants to nominate too. So I talked about it on here that I signed up for the Spartan race that he talked me into doing, and coming off the 5K that UCF just pulled off, and I did pretty well there. I finished 7th overall, number 1 in the Suns group. I was pretty confident coming into this thing. And man, I think I underestimated this Spartan race overall. Didn't do as well as I thought I was going to. I did beat, I guess, 76 people. But overall, finished 233 people beat me. 232 of them anyway. And when I got out there, man, you see some people that are in shape. You think, yes. I used to think I was in decent shape. I get out there and I was like, whoa, I'm the big kid in class now. But it was fun, man. It was hard. It definitely challenged me. I didn't prepare probably as well as I should have. Definitely not with the diet and stuff the weeks leading up. The last few weekends, I kind of let myself go a little. So probably could have done better, but was able to get through it. There was three things I did not complete, so I had to do the burpees on them. And that's where my brother-in-law got frustrated at. You know the Hercules hoist? Where you got to pull the rope and the weight goes all the way up to the top of the whatever it is. All right. He says that they penalized him because he dropped it too far or dropped it too hard at the And I wasn't running it at the same time as him, so I didn't see it. But he says that he didn't do that. The guy penalized him, made him do the burpees, and penalized him 10 minutes. So I guess he was angry with them. But I did beat him. Even with the 10-minute penalty, I still beat him. So I think I count it as kind of a win. I don't know. Am I a cow for taking it too lightly? Is he the cow for complaining about them penalizing him? Or are they cows for penalizing him the time and making him do the burpees?
Wow, you asked a lot of questions I wasn't prepared for there. I'll take these in order. Are you a cow for not preparing? That's a tough one because some of those you can't really train for, right? Like, do you have the ability to set up a Hercules hoist somewhere in your backyard to train for that kind of stuff? So some of those are really hard to actually train for that particular obstacle. Now, if you're saying general training, I mean, again, getting your cardio fitness up or whatever, I guess in theory, yeah, I'm going to go on a limb though and say like eating like crap for 2 weekends beforehand probably wouldn't have done much to your time. I think maybe you shave off a couple minutes here and there, but I don't think it's a game changer. Now, if you had like, not eaten well for 2 months before the session, then maybe sure, but a couple weekends, I think you'll be fine. But it's hard to train for those because you don't know what you're going to get. The crowds are tough too, right? Because it's not just, if it's just you on the course by yourself, maybe it's different, but were you clogged up at points in time? Were you able to get around people? Did you have a lot of slowdowns just based on the number of people there?
No, it was actually not bad. It was pretty spread out. I think COVID had a thing to do with that. So I never really got to an apparatus and said, oh, I had to wait. If anything, I just let people go in front of me. I was like, all right, I'm not ready for this yet. You know what really got me sick was the barbed wire crawl.
Sure.
And I saw the thing where on a tutorial where you're better off just rolling through it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh man, did that get me dizzy? I was rolling and I thought I was gonna puke. And I thought that like the next barbed wire was the last one, and it was still like 20 more to go. I was losing where I was. Apparently, you're supposed to roll one way, stop, turn around, and then roll the opposite way. Somebody told me that afterwards that would help. I don't know, man. I wasn't the only one because I heard from a bunch of people that they got nauseous during that too.
Yes, I always army crawled those. I couldn't get the roll down quite as well as I wanted to. So I always army crawled those. Was it really close to you? Would you have actually hit it if you moved up too high, or was it still a safe distance from you?
Yeah, even when I was rolling, so like I guess when I'm on my arm at my highest point, it wasn't far away from me. It was only a couple inches away. So I army crawled like the last two just because I was so dizzy. I just wanted to straighten up. Plus, I wanted to look cool for the picture.
There you go.
There was a guy sitting there at the end with the camera.
Were there any water obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta tread through the water.
Gotcha.
If you want to call that a water obstacle. Yeah, you gotta walk through some mud things. There was a couple of those.
When you say tread, are you talking like waist level tread? Are you talking like ankle level tread?
Yeah. One of them went up to your waist. One of them was up to the waist, and the couple other ones were like shin high, knee high,
yeah,
mid thigh kind of thing.
See, the water's always got me because then you get out of the water and now you're like soaking wet, shoes, pants, and you're trying to run to the next obstacle and you got mud everywhere. That's where it always got me. I always hate the water ones.
All right. See, I went to buy some trail shoes the day before. This is actually another thing. I went to Bass Pro Shops the day before. Maybe I waited way too long. Obviously, I did because it was the day before the race. And I had a $50 gift certificate to use at this place. I was like, oh, cool. I'll get some shoes. I won't have to spend too much money. I get to the place. Cops are swarming Bass Pro Shops all over the place. Apparently, there was a shooting. A cop had got shot in the parking lot.
Jeez. If
I had got there 10 minutes earlier, who knows? I could have been in the line of fire, man. I think it was a drug bust. There was a whole thing going on. I swear, 10 minutes earlier in my life, I may not be here right now talking to you. I could have been walking through the parking lot as bullets were flying.
Jeez.
Serious stuff. Yeah, so I ended up having to go to Dick's and spending way more money than I wanted to. Getting the only basically trail shoes that they had available. So I had that too. But those shoes definitely helped. And I got some socks that didn't, I guess they dried up faster. That definitely helped. So coming out of the water, I didn't feel bad. My shoes dried up pretty good.
Now, was there an after party at this? I know they usually do like bands and beers, things like that. Was the after party canceled because of COVID stuff?
No, there was stuff there. They gave me a bracelet for a free drink, but I couldn't stick around because I got done with this thing. It was like 10 o'clock. I had to coach my daughter's softball game at 12, and the place was like 30 minutes away. So I basically left as soon as I was done. I just headed home. I had to go home, rinsed off real quick because I was covered in dirt and mud and stuff, and then went straight to the park to coach softball. So.
Maybe we should
get to hang out.
We can look at the calendar coming up. I mean, we should find. I don't know when they're back in Florida again. We should earmark a Sons of UCF like Spartan race event. You know what I mean? Well, a bunch of listeners. We can find something maybe near Orlando or Tampa, Jack, somewhere. It's a bit close for everybody. Maybe we do a Sons of UCF Spartan race situation one year.
Yeah, my brother-in-law, he's already into them. There's two I know in Central Florida. They haven't announced the exact locations, but I think there's one, I want to say like September 18th, and then there's one like December 12th, something around those times. So one of them I think would line up with like the Louisville game.
Yeah, I was going to say,
we really had to watch Friday night, get hammered during Louisville, and then Saturday morning go out and do one of these things? Oh, that's a recipe for disaster.
It is, yeah. Actually, from 18th, yeah, you're right. That would be that would be no good. We need a bye week. Is what we need.
It would be great to do it in the morning and then go hang out and watch the game at night. That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But with a Friday night game, that's tough.
No, we'll figure it out. I mean, there's other races in town too. Spartan is one, but they have all these kind of nonsense. I don't want to run a straight like half marathon. That's no fun. Like 5K is probably my max in terms of running because running is just boring. At least this one you have stuff to do in between, even though it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the obstacles were cool actually. I was scared going into it. I was scared of the monkey bars and the multi-rig, just because I haven't been able to practice those in a long time. But I got through those. I made it without touching the ground, so that was fine. The three obstacles I missed. So I cruised through the first 9 obstacles. I was doing great. I was like, oh man, I'm on a roll. Then I got to the spear throw. You get one shot at it, and if you miss, you got to do the burpees. And I threw that thing, and the thing sailed left. I didn't even come close to the target. so it was 30 burpees. This other thing called the Z-wall, where it doesn't look hard. On paper, it looks like one of the easier ones. But when I'm coming around the corner, I couldn't even see where I had to grab, and I fell off that thing. And then at the very end, when I was completely gassed, just the climbing the rope. Normally I can climb the rope, but this rope was thinner. I couldn't get my feet to give me any push, so I didn't do that one either. So 3 obstacles I could not do.
Yeah, that's why they get you. But they're a lot of fun. They're fun.
So 90 burpees overall. I mean, that was not fun either.
30 each time, Jesus.
Yeah, 30 each time.
And they're doing full chest to ground on those, right? You're not able to do like the oh boy.
No.
That's a bummer. Yeah, burpees.
It was a hell of a workout. I felt great when it was over. Then I did my daughter's softball game. I felt really good then too. And then I got home, and we were supposed to go to a kids' party afterwards, which we did. But I had like an hour at home, so I laid down on the couch. I laid on the couch for 10 minutes. My legs started cramping up all over the place. I mean, my toes, my feet, my legs. It was pretty bad. I thought, you try to stretch one way, and then the other way started cramping. That was not cool.
Yeah, it can be. The last one I did, I don't even know when. You'll remember the date when I tell you where it was. So I did one on a weekend, and I came home, and that Monday I had a huge fever. I was like 104 fever, 105 fever. I was like passing out of my house. Went to the ER, and I ended up with like some sort of a staph infection. Something in the water had gotten underneath my skin or whatever. So I was in the hospital like 3 or 4 days. Got out of the hospital just in time for that weekend, Mike, where we went to our buddy Lance's wedding. So that was the last time I did any sort of a race. I think it was pre-Lance's wedding after the staph infection ended me in the hospital, which was fun.
Wow, he's been married for a long time now. It's got to be close to 8 years, right?
Yeah, 2012 comes to mind, but I mean, I'm sure Lance knows better than us. Hopefully Lance knows better than us when his anniversary is. My Cowboy week's actually pretty simple, Mike. The Tennessee Volunteers had their spring game this past weekend, and apparently during the spring game there was a graphic that was showing all of the great quarterbacks that have learned under Coach Josh Heupel. And they included one Mackenzie Milton, Mike. Mackenzie was listed as one of his quarterback proteges for the 2018 season. And I feel like that's a little bit misleading because I don't know that you necessarily can give Heupel credit for working with Mackenzie Milton or improving Mackenzie Milton. So I'd Cow of the Week worthy on that one, Mike. And then secondarily, a lot of conversation took place over this past week. The Sons of UCF live show started off with a bang when we had J.P. Gilbert and Brian W. Peterson on. And it continued when Trace added a poll asking if we wanted to change the name from Knights to Citronauts. And that thing got off the rails in a hurry, Mike. It seems like JP's on an island on this one. Many people want to keep the Knights and do not want the Citronauts, but I'm not sure who gets cow of the week there because there's a lot of people dug in on all sides, Mike. But at the very least, that conversation got a little excited over the weekend. A lot of name calling, a lot of people being framed as idiots. But a lot of people have kind of dug their heels in, Mike, on the Knights Citronauts / whatever you want to call it argument.
Yeah, I saw the poll go up, and I saw the first maybe couple comments. I guess I missed out on the fireworks. Didn't go back and see. Name calling, I mean, night crime.
Yeah, like loose name. I think actually our guest this week, Ron Johnson, was calling somebody an idiot. I think it was JP actually for dying on that hill.
Well, I mean, people have their opinions, and Twitter is the place for them, I guess. But I don't think it's ever going to happen. Us switching to Citronauts. I think JP is just, barking up the wrong tree. I don't know. Maybe he found his huckleberry in Mojo. Maybe something's there. But I wouldn't count on it.
He's got an interesting argument about Knights not necessarily having a ton of cachet. Which I guess you could kind of argue that, right? You look at the Nitro Head logo, and you might think it's the Army Knights, or you might not automatically associate with UCF if you're not familiar with it, because obviously the stacked logo is the logo most people recognize with UCF. So he's got a point about it's not the strongest mascot branding we can do. It's interesting when you think about a lot of the schools, the mascot typically has some sort of connection to the community or to the school itself. Whereby obviously I don't know that there's an obvious connection between UCF and the word Knights, right? You think about, Miami is the Hurricanes, right? That makes a ton of sense. Florida Gators, okay, whatever, I get it. Florida State Seminoles, you kind of see the connection there. Knights doesn't have an obvious connection to UCF, but I don't know if it's worth the squeeze of going through and changing the nickname. But I see his point about potentially not having as much of a close associated brand with Knights being based in Orlando.
I'll tell you, it'd be interesting, at least as an experiment, if we did change it to Citronauts, to see how many people would still call us Golden Knights. Right? Would that finally go away? Or would they just start calling us Knights after that and not call us the Citronauts? That would be fun to see, I think. Maybe we should just go back to Golden Knights and then see if these people actually stick with that.
Well, it's funny. We don't use gold that much anymore, so that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's true, too.
So we just,
okay. The Canaveral Blue Knights.
Now, see, now you're thinking. All right, now you're adding a little wrinkle. Computer Knights. See, now you're adding some wrinkles to it. Now you're playing chess, not checkers. I like what you're doing there. You're adding a wrinkle there. Maybe you're making a move. I like that. I like that a lot too. Either way, all in good fun. Whether we ever change the name or not, I doubt it's coming soon. But certainly understand there'd probably be more merch available if that took place. But either way, what are you going to do, Mike? Sons of UCF Live, Mike, Thursday, right? Don't forget we're going to be on Thursday. So if you're listening to us, make sure you watch us. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Speaking of all those places, great place to follow us if you're not. Just search Sons of UCF everywhere. And you want to follow Mike on Twitter, he's at UCF Mike1. So give us a follow on all those particular accounts. Make sure you're keeping an eye out for any of the sort of the new stuff we're putting there on YouTube. We're always adding some new stuff here and there, Mike. I saw a request there. Somebody had I was going to chop up the quote. Somebody had asked about O'Leary and the black uniforms. And when we had him on episode 31, which was like 2 years ago now, I think he talked about that specifically. I was going to try to isolate that cut and put it out there. So maybe one day we'll do that. We have the old George O'Leary White Horse video you put together. I just saw Chris Martin was responding back to you calling George the White Horse, so maybe that video can surface. Either way, the YouTube channel is a good place for all that stuff. So make sure you're following us all those places. You never know what you're going to get.
All right. I think O'Leary addressed why we didn't wear the black jerseys that time. Well, we can find the clip of that. But yeah, we've had all kinds of things. We've had we used to make these videos called Night with the Suns, where we would break down some of these interviews and match it up with some of the videos. So you got the Justin Holman talking about the Hail Mary play and matched it up with the highlight of it. Saya Burley had one of those. And of course, the White Horse video, I think, is one of the greatest things I've ever done. And we talked about had all the guys that have mentioned him being called the White Horse and matched it up with one of those videos too. So there's a lot of cool things on the YouTube channel, not to mention the Sons of UCF live show that we do every Thursday night. Starring, I think we got to start saying starring, not featuring. Starring Trey Strelko.
Okay. Yeah, I can make the easy edit. Yeah, very easy edit. We can make that work.
and we're going up against the NFL draft. I mean, this is big time here. Yeah. We're not hiding from the competition, I guess.
No, we're not. We're not scared. Again, by the time we are done at 9:00, they'll be on pick 3. You know what I mean? So we'll tell you live that Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson got picked, and then you can all go turn your TV on for pick 3 because that'll probably be where they're going to be at by 9:00. But also subscribe, rate, review to the podcast. We appreciate all the great feedback, Maya. I know we've had some great reviews have come in, so everyone who's done that, we appreciate it. And one last piece of news: we've got something else we've been working on. Not exactly ready to tell you what it is yet. Hopefully by Thursday on the Sons of UCF Live, we can unveil the thing we've been working on for the last couple of weeks here. So tune in Thursday night, 8 p.m., and you might just catch a sneak peek of the next thing that we've been doing here at the Sons of UCF. So stay tuned for that. If that's not a tease, I don't know what is. Until then, Mike, I'm out of stuff to talk about. I guess we should let everyone enjoy the rest of their week. And maybe we'll see them all on Thursday.
All right. Yeah, let's get out of here. We're done.
All right. Go Knights.
Charge on.